When 78-year-old Carmen Velasquez collapsed in her kitchen, her 8-year-old granddaughter Sofia thought she had lost everything. The retired teacher who had spent her life helping others now needed a surgery her family couldn't afford. But sometimes, guardian angels live right next door, and sometimes the most powerful rockets are the ones that lift up the people around you. What happened next would change not just one family's life, but an entire community's future. This is the true story of how a little girl's tears in a garden caught the attention of her famous neighbor, and how one quiet act of kindness created ripples that reached all the way to the stars. The rain drummed against the windows of the SpaceX office like tiny rockets hitting the glass. Elon Musk rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the clock on his computer screen. 7:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in March 2023. He had been working since 5 a.m., studying new rocket designs that could take people to Mars. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. His mind was full of numbers and pictures of rocket engines. The Starship prototype needed to be perfect. Every bolt, every wire, every piece of metal had to work just right. Mr. Musk? His assistant, Jennifer, knocked on the door. "Sorry to bother you, but there's something you should know." Elon looked up from his papers. Jennifer had worked with him for 3 years. She only interrupted important work when something was really wrong. "What is it?" he asked, pushing his chair back from the desk. "It's about your neighbor, Mrs. Velasquez, the lady who lives in the blue house with the nice garden." Jennifer stepped into the office, holding a cup of fresh coffee. No one has seen her in 3 days. Elon took the coffee and thought about Mrs. Velasquez. Carmen Velasquez was 78 years old and lived 2 houses down from his place in Boca Chica. She had moved to the small Texas town 5 years ago to be close to her son's family. Her little blue house sat between 2 empty lots, and she had turned her backyard into a beautiful garden. 3 days? Elon asked. "That's not like her." "I know." Mrs. Johnson from the grocery store called. She said Mrs. Velasquez comes in every Monday for milk and bread. She didn't show up yesterday, and she didn't come today either. Elon knew that Carmen kept a very regular schedule. Every morning at 6 a.m., she watered her tomato plants. Every evening at 7 p.m., she sat on her front porch with a cup of tea. On Sundays, she walked to the small church in town. On Mondays, she went to Johnson's grocery. "Did anyone check on her?" Elon asked. Mrs. Johnson drove by the house this morning. The newspapers were still on the porch. 3 days worth. And the mail was piling up too. Elon set down his coffee cup. Something was definitely wrong. Carmen was the kind of neighbor who waved every morning when she saw him leave for work. She brought homemade salsa to new families who moved to the area. Last year, she had given him a basket of fresh tomatoes from her garden. "I should go check on her," Elon said, standing up. "Actually, there's more." Jennifer looked worried. "I called the hospital in Harlingen. There was a Carmen Velasquez brought in 3 days ago. She had a stroke." Elon felt his stomach drop. A stroke? That explained why no one had seen her. "Is she okay?" he asked. "She's alive, but it's serious. The doctors say she needs surgery, but..." Jennifer paused. "There are problems with insurance and money." Elon knew that Carmen lived on a small pension from her teaching job. She had been a teacher for 35 years before she retired. Teachers didn't make much money, especially retired ones. "What about her family?" Elon asked. "Her son Miguel works 2 jobs. One at Rosa's restaurant downtown, and he does construction work too. His wife Rosa cleans houses. They're good people, but they don't have much money. And there's a granddaughter, right? A little girl." "Yes, Sofia. She's 8 years old. She stays with Mrs. Velasquez during the week because her parents work so much." Elon remembered Sofia. She was a bright little girl with dark hair and big brown eyes. Sometimes he saw her in the backyard, helping her grandmother with the plants. She always waved at him with dirty hands and a big smile. "Where is Sofia now?" he asked. "With her Aunt Maria. But she's been crying a lot. She wants to go back to her grandmother's house." Elon walked to the window and looked out at the rain. He could see the SpaceX rockets in the distance, tall and silver against the gray sky. Building rockets was hard work, but it was nothing compared to what the Velasquez family was going through right now. "The surgery Mrs. Velasquez needs," he said. "How much does it cost?" "I don't know exactly, but stroke surgery can cost $50,000 or more, plus hospital bills, medicine, and recovery time. The family is looking at maybe $80,000 total." Elon did quick math in his head. For Miguel and Rosa, $80,000 might as well be $8 million. They would never be able to pay that much money. I need to think about this, Elon said. Can you get me more information about Mrs. Velasquez's condition? And find out which doctor is treating her? Of course, Mr. Musk. After Jennifer left, Elon sat back down at his desk, but he couldn't focus on rocket designs anymore. He kept thinking about Sophia, crying because she couldn't see her grandmother. He thought about Carmen, lying in a hospital bed, probably worried about her family. The rain outside was getting heavier. Elon decided to drive home early and check on Carmen's house. Maybe there was something he could do to help. The drive from SpaceX to his house took only 10 minutes. Boca Chica was a small community, and most people knew each other. As he drove past Carmen's blue house, he could see the pile of newspapers on the porch. Her tomato plants looked sad in the rain. He parked in his driveway and walked over to Carmen's backyard. The gate was unlocked, which was unusual. Carmen always locked her gate to keep the rabbits out of her garden. The backyard was quiet except for the sound of rain on leaves. Carmen's tomato plants were drooping. The peppers needed water. The small herb garden by the back door looked forgotten. Then, he heard something that made him stop walking. Someone was crying. The sound came from behind the tool shed. Elon walked quietly around the corner and saw Sophia sitting on a small wooden stool. She was wearing a yellow raincoat that was too big for her, and her dark hair was wet from the rain. She was talking to Carmen's tomato plants. "Please don't die," Sophia whispered to the plants. "Abuela will be so sad if you die while she's gone. She loves you so much." Sophia reached out and touched one of the drooping tomato plants. "I tried to water you yesterday, but I spilled the watering can. I'm not good at taking care of plants like Abuela." Elon felt something tight in his chest. This little girl was trying to save her grandmother's garden all by herself. "I'm scared," Sophia continued, her voice shaking. "What if Abuela doesn't come back? What if the doctors can't make her better? Mama says we don't have enough money for the medicine she needs." She started crying harder. "I don't care about money. I just want my Abuela to come home. I want her to teach me about the plants again. I want her to make me breakfast and help me with my homework." Sophia looked up at the gray sky. "I wrote a letter to NASA. I asked them to give Abuela a job teaching astronauts about space. She knows everything about rockets and stars. She's the smartest person in the whole world." Elon stepped on a small branch, and it made a cracking sound. Sophia jumped up and turned around. When she saw him, her eyes got very wide. "Oh, Mr. Musk, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be in your way." She started to run toward the gate. "Wait," Elon called gently. "Sophia, right? You're Mrs. Velasquez's granddaughter." Sophia stopped running but stayed far away from him. She nodded her head. "I heard about your grandmother," Elon said. "I'm very sorry she's sick." "She's not just sick," Sophia said, her voice small and scared. "She's in the hospital. She can't talk right, and she can't move her left arm. The doctors say she needs an operation, but it costs too much money." "I'm sure the doctors will take good care of her," Elon said. "But what if they don't? What if she has to come home without the operation? What if she gets sick again?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I can't lose my Abuela. She's the only one who believes I can be an astronaut." Elon felt that tight feeling in his chest again. He remembered being young and having big dreams. He remembered the adults who believed in him and the ones who didn't. "Your grandmother thinks you can be an astronaut?" he asked. Sophia nodded. "She made me a cardboard rocket for my bedroom. She shows me the real SpaceX rockets when they launch. She says that girls can do anything boys can do, even fly to space." "She's right about that," Elon said. "We need more women astronauts." "Really?" Sophia's eyes got a little brighter. "Really? Some of the best engineers and scientists at SpaceX are women." Sophia wiped her nose with her sleeve. "Abuela says you're the smartest person in Texas. She says you're going to take people to Mars." "Your grandmother is very kind," Elon said. "But I think she might be the smartest person in Texas. Teachers usually are." "She was the best teacher at Roosevelt Elementary," Sophia said with pride. "She helped kids who were having trouble with math. She stayed after school to help them for free." Elon looked at the drooping tomato plants. "These plants miss her, don't they? I've been trying to take care of them, but I don't know how. Abuela has magic fingers. She can make anything grow." Sophia's voice got sad again. "What if they all die before she comes back?" "Plants are tougher than you think," Elon said. "But They do need regular care. I don't know what to do, Sophia said. I don't know how to help Abuela, and I don't know how to save her plants. I'm just a kid. Elon looked at this brave little girl who was trying to carry the weight of the world on her small shoulders. He thought about his own grandmother in South Africa, who had died when he was young. She had been the one to encourage his love of books and learning. Sophia, he said gently, sometimes the best thing we can do is take care of what we can control. We can't fix everything, but we can do small things with love. Like watering the plants? Sophia asked. Like watering the plants, Elon agreed. And like believing that good things can happen, even when we're scared. Sophia looked at him for a long moment. Do you really think my Abuela will be okay? Elon couldn't promise that, but he could see the hope in Sophia's eyes. I think your grandmother is very lucky to have someone who loves her as much as you do. As Sophia walked toward the gate, she turned back. Mr. Musk, if you see any shooting stars, will you make a wish for my Abuela? I will, Elon promised. After Sophia left, Elon stood alone in Carmen's garden. The rain had stopped, but the plants still looked sad and forgotten. He thought about the little girl's tears and her grandmother lying in a hospital bed 30 miles away. That he thought about the $80,000 that stood between Carmen and the surgery that could save her life. He thought about Sophia's letter to NASA and her cardboard rocket and her belief that her grandmother was the smartest person in Texas. Sometimes the most important missions weren't about reaching Mars or building the perfect rocket. Sometimes they were about helping a neighbor in need. Elon Musk had built companies worth billions of dollars. He had sent rockets to space and cars to orbit around Earth. But standing in a small backyard garden in Boca Chica, Texas, he realized that the most important project of his life might be saving one elderly teacher and her family. The question was, how could he help without taking away their dignity? How could he fix this problem without making the family feel like they were taking charity? As he walked back to his house, Elon was already making plans. But he had no idea that this one act of kindness would change not just the Velasquez family, but his own understanding of what it meant to be a true neighbor. The story of Carmen Velasquez and her granddaughter Sophia was just beginning. And sometimes, the best stories start with the simple sound of a little girl crying in the rain. The next morning, Elon woke up thinking about Sophia and the tomato plants. He had dreamed about his own grandmother, Cora, who used to grow vegetables in their backyard in South Africa. She always said that plants could teach you patience and hope. After his morning coffee, Elon walked over to Carmen's fence. Sophia was there again, sitting on the same wooden stool. This time she wasn't crying, but she looked very tired. Good morning, Sophia, Elon called softly. She looked up, surprised. Oh, hi, Mr. Musk. I didn't wake you up, did I? I tried to be quiet. You didn't wake me up, Elon said. I'm always up early. What are you doing? I'm talking to Abuela's plants. I know it sounds silly, but she always talked to them. She said plants like to hear friendly voices. Elon smiled. That doesn't sound silly at all. Scientists think plants might actually respond to sound. Sophia's eyes got wide. Really? So Abuela was right. Your grandmother is usually right about things, isn't she? Always, Sophia said with a small smile. She taught me everything I know about space and rockets. And growing things. Elon noticed that Sophia was holding a small notebook. The cover was decorated with stickers of stars and planets. What's in your notebook? He asked. Sophia looked down at the notebook and then back at Elon. It's my space journal. Abuela gave it to me for my birthday. I write down everything I learn about rockets and astronauts. Can you tell me about some of the things you've learned? Sophia's face lit up a little. Well, I know that your Falcon Heavy rocket can carry 64,000 kilograms to space. And I know that it takes about 9 minutes to get to orbit. And the International Space Station goes around Earth every 90 minutes. Elon was impressed. Most adults didn't know those facts. Abuela taught you all that, he asked. Some of it. But I also read books from the library. And we watched the SpaceX launches together from our backyard. Sophia's smile faded. We were supposed to watch the next launch together, but now tell me more about your grandmother, Elon said gently. What's she like? Sophia brightened again. She's the best person in the whole world. She used to teach 3rd grade at Roosevelt Elementary School. All the kids loved her because she made learning fun. How did she make it fun? Well, when she taught math, she would use space examples. Like, if a rocket travels 25,000 miles per hour, how long does it take to get to the moon? And when she taught science, she would bring in real plants and show kids how they grow. Sophia stood up and walked over to one of the tomato plants. See this one? This is Big Bertha. Abuela named all her plants. And this one is Little Star. She grew them from seeds that came from her mother's garden in Mexico. Your great-grandmother's seeds? Elon asked. Yes. Abuela's mama gave her the seeds when she first came to America. Abuela was only 22 years old then. She didn't speak much English, but she had these seeds and big dreams. Sophia touched the leaves of the tomato plant gently. Abuela says that when you plant something, you're planting hope for the future. You have to believe it will grow, even when you can't see what's happening under the ground. Elon felt that tight feeling in his chest again. This little girl understood things that some adults never learned. Sophia, he said, you mentioned yesterday that you wrote a letter to NASA? Sophia nodded eagerly. I did. I asked them to hire Abuela as a teacher for astronauts. She knows so much about space, and she's really good at explaining hard things in easy ways. That sounds like a great letter. Did you mail it? Not yet. I wanted to show it to Abuela first, but then she got sick. Sophia's voice got quieter. Do you think NASA would really want to hire a grandma? I think NASA would be lucky to have someone like your grandmother, Elon said. Age doesn't matter when you have knowledge and passion. Sophia smiled. That's what Abuela always says. She says age is just a number, but dreams are forever young. Your grandmother sounds very wise. She is. She helps everyone in the neighborhood. When Mrs. Martinez's computer broke, Abuela learned how to fix it. When the Rodriguez family didn't have money for school supplies, Abuela bought extra supplies and shared them. Sophia walked over to a corner of the garden where there was a small bench. This is where Abuela and I sit every evening. She tells me stories about the stars and the planets. She knows all the constellations. What's your favorite constellation? Elon asked. Orion the Hunter. Abuela says Orion protects people who are brave enough to chase their dreams. Sophia looked up at the cloudy sky. I can't see him during the day, but I know he's up there. Elon followed her gaze. What do you want to be when you grow up, Sophia? An astronaut, she said without hesitation. I want to be the first person to grow tomatoes on Mars. Abuela says that if people are going to live on other planets, they'll need to know how to grow food. She's absolutely right, Elon said. Growing food in space is one of the biggest challenges we face. Really? So my dream could actually help people. Your dream could help save people's lives, Elon said seriously. Sophia beamed. Abuela always says that the best dreams are the ones that help other people too. She walked over to another part of the garden where there were pepper plants. These are my favorites. Abuela grows them special for me because I love spicy food. She calls them Sophia's fire peppers. She named peppers after you. She names something in the garden after everyone she loves. There's Miguel's mighty tomatoes for my papa and Rose's sweet herbs for my mama. Sophia's voice got sad. She was going to plant some new flowers and name them after my baby cousin who's coming in the summer. Your family is growing. Elon asked. Tia Maria is having a baby in July. Abuela is so excited to be a great-grandmother. She already started knitting a blanket. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. What if she's not here when the baby comes? What if she doesn't get better? Elon knelt down so he was at Sophia's eye level. Your grandmother is in the hospital getting the best care possible. The doctors are working very hard to help her. But the operation costs so much money. I heard Papa talking to Mama last night. They said they might have to sell our car and Papa's tools. But even that won't be enough. Sophia wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I wish I was older. I wish I could get a job and help pay for Abuela's operation. Sophia, you're helping in the most important way already, Elon said. How? You're taking care of what your grandmother loves. You're keeping her garden alive. You're remembering all the things she taught you. That's not a small thing. That's everything. Sophia looked at him with those big brown eyes. Do you really think so? I know so. And I think your grandmother would be very proud of how brave you're being. Sophia walked over to a small shed in the corner of the garden. She opened the door and pulled out a large glass jar. It was the kind of jar people use to store pickles, but this one was different. What's that? Elon asked. This is Abuela's special jar, Sophia said, holding it carefully with both hands. She's been saving money in here for 2 years. The jar was about half full of bills and coins. Elon could see ones, fives, tens, and quarters mixed together. What was she saving for? He asked. Sophia's face lit up with the memory. She was saving to take me to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. She said that if I'm going to be an astronaut, I need to see where the real rockets launch from. That sounds like an amazing trip. She saved every extra penny. When she found a quarter on the street, it went in the jar. When the grocery store gave her $1 back because she had a coupon, it went in the jar. Sophia hugged the jar to her chest. She said we were going to go this summer, just her and me. Maybe you still can, Elon said gently. Sophia shook her head. This money has to go to the hospital now. Mama said every dollar counts. She looked at the jar sadly. I don't care about the trip. I just want Abuela to be okay. Elon felt his heart break a little. This 8-year-old girl was willing to give up her dream trip to help save her grandmother's life. Sophia, he said, can I ask you something? Sure. If your grandmother gets better, what's the first thing you want to do with her? Sophia thought for a moment. I want to show her that I kept all her plants alive. And I want to sit on our bench and look at the stars. And I want to tell her about all the new things I learned while she was gone. What new things have you learned? Well, yesterday I figured out how the watering can work better if you tilt it just right. And I learned that the pepper plants need less water than the tomatoes. And, Sophia paused, I learned that even when you're really scared, you can still be brave. That's a very important lesson, Elon said. Sophia set the jar down carefully and looked at Elon. Mr. Musk, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think dreams can come true even when everything seems impossible? Elon thought about all the times people had told him his dreams were impossible. Electric cars that could drive themselves. Rockets that could land back on Earth. People living on Mars. Sophia, he said, I think dreams don't come true because everything is easy. Dreams come true because someone believes in them so much that they keep working toward them, even when things get hard. Abuela always says that too. She says dreams are like plants. You have to water them every day, even when you can't see them growing. Sophia looked at her grandmother's garden, green and alive despite the recent rain and neglect. I'm going to keep watering Abuela's dreams until she comes home, and then we're going to water them together. As Elon walked back to his house, he couldn't stop thinking about Sophia's words. This little girl understood something about hope and persistence that many adults had forgotten. She was keeping her grandmother's garden alive, not just the plants, but the dreams planted there too. He thought about the jar of money, saved penny by penny for a trip to see rockets launch. He thought about a woman who named her plants after the people she loved. He thought about a girl who wanted to grow tomatoes on Mars to help feed the human race. By the time Elon reached his front door, he knew what he had to do. But it would have to be done carefully, with respect for the family's dignity and pride. Sometimes the most important missions weren't about reaching the stars. Sometimes they were about helping a little girl keep her dreams alive until her grandmother could come home to share them. At T Valley Baptist Medical Center in Harlingen, Miguel Velasquez sat in the hard plastic chair next to his mother's hospital bed. His hands were rough from construction work, but they were gentle as he held Carmen's fingers. Her left hand felt cold and weak in his. Mama, he whispered in Spanish, Sophia is taking care of your plants. She talks to them every morning, just like you taught her. Carmen's eyes fluttered open. The stroke had affected the left side of her body, making it hard for her to speak clearly. But her eyes were still bright and full of love. Sophia, Carmen's voice was soft and slurred. Is she eating? She's eating, Mama. Rosa makes sure of that. But she misses you so much. Carmen tried to squeeze Miguel's hand, but her grip was weak. The jar. What jar, Mama? My savings jar. For Sophia, Kennedy Space Center. Miguel's throat felt tight. He knew about the jar of money his mother had been saving for 2 years. Every week, she put aside a few dollars from her small pension check. She had been so excited about taking Sophia to Florida. Don't worry about the jar, Mama. Sophia understands. She just wants you to get better. Carmen's eyes filled with tears. I wanted to show her real rockets. You will, Mama. After you get better, you'll take that trip together. But Miguel knew the truth. The jar money would have to go toward the hospital bills. Even then, it wouldn't be nearly enough. Dr. Martinez, the surgeon, had explained everything yesterday. Carmen needed a carotid endarterectomy. The stroke had been caused by a blocked artery in her neck. Without surgery, she had a 60% chance of having another stroke within a year. With surgery, She could live a normal life for many more years. The problem was money. The surgery alone cost $45,000. Add in the hospital stay, medicines, and recovery care, and they were looking at $80,000 or more. Miguel made $15 an hour at his construction job and $12 an hour at the restaurant. Rosa cleaned houses for $10 an hour. Even working every day, they brought home about $50,000 a year. After rent, food, and Sophia's school supplies, there was barely anything left. The door opened, and Rosa walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee from the vending machine. Her eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep. She had been at the hospital every day since Carmen's stroke. "How is she?" Rosa asked quietly. "She woke up a little while ago." She asked about Sophia and the savings jar. Rosa sat down in the other plastic chair. "Mrs. Thompson wants to see us in an hour." Mrs. Thompson was the hospital's financial counselor. Miguel had been dreading this meeting for 3 days. "What do you think she's going to say?" Miguel asked. "I don't know. Maybe she found a way to help us." Miguel looked at his mother sleeping peacefully in the hospital bed. Carmen had worked so hard her whole life. She had raised him and his 2 sisters mostly by herself after their father died. She had put herself through college while working as a cleaning lady. She had taught school for 35 years, spending her own money on supplies for students whose families couldn't afford them. Now, when she needed help the most, Miguel felt helpless. "I called my sister Elena in Houston," Rosa said. "She can lend us $5,000, but that's all she has. And your brother Carlos? $3,000. Maybe." Miguel did the math in his head. Even with help from family, they would have maybe $10,000. It wasn't close to enough. "I'm thinking about selling my truck," Miguel said. "Miguel, no. You need your truck for work. Maybe I can get a loan against it. Or sell my tools." Rosa reached over and took his hand. "We'll figure something out. We have to." Through the window, they could see other families dealing with their own problems. An elderly man pushed his wife in a wheelchair. A young mother rocked a crying baby. Everyone in the hospital was fighting some kind of battle. "Mrs. Velasquez." A nurse knocked on the door. "Mrs. Thompson is ready to see you now." Miguel and Rosa followed the nurse down the hallway to a small office. Mrs. Thompson was a kind woman in her 50s who had been helping families with hospital bills for 10 years. "Please, sit down," Mrs. Thompson said. "I've been reviewing your mother's case, and I have some options to discuss with you." She opened a folder and pulled out several papers. "The good news is that your mother qualifies for our charity care program. This can reduce your bill by about 30%. 30%. Miguel calculated quickly. "That still leaves us with $56,000. I know it's still a lot, but we can set up a payment plan. You could pay $500 a month for, let's see, about 12 years. Rosa felt dizzy. 12 years of $500 payments. That was money they didn't have. "What if we can't make the payments?" Rosa asked. "We work with families. If you miss a payment, we won't immediately send your account to collections." "But," Mrs. Thompson paused, "I have to be honest. Your mother needs this surgery soon. Every day we wait increases the risk of another stroke." Miguel felt like the walls were closing in. "How soon?" "Dr. Martinez recommends within the next 5 days. 5 days. Rosa's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. I know this is overwhelming, but there might be other options. Sometimes local charities help with medical bills. And there are online fundraising websites where people can ask for donations." Miguel's pride hurt at the thought of asking strangers for money. But if it could save his mother's life, "Can you give us some time to think?" he asked. "Of course, but please don't wait too long." Back in Carmen's room, Miguel and Rosa sat quietly while she slept. The afternoon sun came through the window, making patterns on the white hospital blanket. "What are we going to do?" Rosa whispered. Before Miguel could answer, his phone buzzed. It was a text from his sister Maria, who was watching Sophia. "Sophia won't eat lunch. She says her stomach hurts, but I think she's just worried about Abuela. She keeps asking when you're coming home." Miguel showed the text to Rosa. She started crying again. "This is killing Sophia too," Rosa said. "She hasn't been to school in 3 days. She just sits by the window waiting for news about her grandmother. Maybe we should bring her to visit," Miguel said. "The doctor said no children under 12 in the ICU. Hospital rules." Miguel felt angry at the unfairness of it all. Sophia needed to see that her grandmother was okay. Carmen needed to see Sophia. But rules were rules. His phone rang. It was Maria again. "Miguel, you need to come home. Something happened." "What's wrong? Is Sophia hurt?" "No, but she found Carmen's savings jar. It broke when she was trying to move it. She's sitting on the floor crying, trying to put the pieces back together. She keeps saying she broke Abuela's dreams." Miguel closed his eyes. The image of Sophia surrounded by broken glass and scattered money made his heart ache. "We're coming home now," he said. "Miguel, wait. There's something else." She counted the money. "There's $847 in the jar. $847. Carmen had saved for 2 years, $1.25 at a time. It was supposed to be for Sophia's dream trip to see real rockets launch. Now it would go toward a hospital bill. That seemed impossible to pay. When Miguel and Rosa got home, they found Sophia in the kitchen. She was sitting on the floor with the broken pieces of the glass jar in front of her. The money was sorted into neat piles. One's here, five's there, quarters in a small mountain. "I'm sorry, Papa," Sophia said without looking up. "I broke Abuela's jar. I was trying to carry it to safety, but it slipped." "It's okay, Mija," Miguel said, kneeling beside her. "Accidents happen. But now how will Abuela save for our trip?" This was her special jar. She's had it since before I was born. Rosa sat down on the floor too. "Sophia, we need to talk about the money." Sophia looked up with those big brown eyes. "Is it enough to help Abuela get better?" Miguel felt his throat close. "Up. How do you tell an 8-year-old that her grandmother's life-saving surgery costs 100 times more than everything in that broken jar?" "It will help," Rosa said carefully. "Every dollar helps." Sophia picked up a $20 bill and held it carefully. Abuela got this when she sold vegetables to Mrs. Rodriguez. And this $5 bill came from returning bottles and cans. She knew the story of every piece of money. Each dollar represented hours of Carmen's work, dreams saved penny by penny. "Sophia," Miguel said gently, "you know this money might not be enough for the Florida trip, right?" Sophia nodded. "I know, Papa. The trip doesn't matter anymore. I just want Abuela to come home." She started putting the money back into piles. "When Abuela gets better, we can start saving again. Maybe it will take longer, but we can do it together." Miguel watched his daughter carefully sorting the bills and coins. She had inherited Carmen's optimism and determination. Even surrounded by broken glass and facing the possible loss of her beloved grandmother, Sophia still believed that dreams could come true. But as Miguel looked at the scattered money and thought about the $80,000 they needed, he wondered if believing was enough. Outside, the sun was setting over Boca Chica. In the distance, the SpaceX rocket stood tall against the orange sky, reaching toward the stars that Sophia and Carmen loved to watch together. Somewhere in those stars, Miguel hoped, there might be an answer to their prayers. The next morning, Elon arrived at Valley Baptist Medical Center carrying a small bouquet of flowers from his own garden. He told the receptionist he was visiting a neighbor, which was true. Carmen Velasquez was his neighbor. Even if they had never formally met, he found Miguel and Rosa in the family waiting area. Miguel was slumped in a chair, staring at his phone. Rosa was pacing by the window, holding a cup of cold coffee. Both looked like they hadn't slept in days. "Excuse me," Elon said quietly. "Are you the Velasquez family?" Miguel looked up, surprised. "Yes, I'm Miguel, and this is my wife, Rosa. I'm Elon. I live near your mother's house in Boca Chica. I heard she was sick, and I wanted to check on her." Rosa studied Elon's face. She recognized him from the news, but she couldn't believe the famous billionaire was standing in their hospital waiting room. "That's very kind of you," Miguel said, standing up. "But you didn't need to come all this way. Neighbors should look out for each other," Elon said simply. "How is Mrs. Velasquez doing?" Miguel's shoulders sagged. "The doctors say she needs surgery soon." But he stopped, not wanting to share their financial troubles with a stranger. But Elon prompted gently. Rosa looked at her husband. Something about this man seemed trustworthy, despite his fame and wealth. "The surgery is very expensive," Rosa said. "We're trying to figure out how to pay for it." Elon nodded. "Hospital bills can be overwhelming. What kind of surgery does she need?" "Something called a carotid endarterectomy," Miguel said. "It's to prevent another stroke. I've heard of that procedure. It has very good success rates when done by the right surgeon." "Dr. Martinez seems like a good doctor," Rosa said. "But we only have 5 days to decide." 5 days, Elon asked. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes, Miguel explained. But we're looking at $80,000 in total costs. We're working people, mister. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was? Just call me Elon. And I understand how hard this must be. Miguel appreciated that this man didn't make empty promises about everything working out. Too many people had been saying that lately. Can I ask about your mother? Elon said. What kind of person is she? Rosa's face softened. Carmen is. She's the heart of our family and the heart of our whole neighborhood. She was a teacher for 35 years, Miguel added. 3rd grade at Roosevelt Elementary. She never missed a day of work, even when she was sick herself. She sounds dedicated. More than dedicated, Rosa said. She would stay after school for hours helping kids who were struggling. She bought school supplies with her own money for families who couldn't afford them. Miguel sat back down, suddenly looking very tired. When Hurricane Hannah hit in 2020, Mama opened her house to 3 families who lost power. She fed them for a week with food from her own kitchen. She tutors kids for free every weekend, Rosa continued. Math, reading, science. Parents bring their children to her because they know she cares. Elon listened carefully. The more he learned about Carmen, the more he understood why Sophia loved her so much. And she helps everyone with computer problems, Miguel said with a small smile. Mama learned how to use the internet when she was 70 years old. Now she's the neighborhood tech support. She sounds like an amazing woman, Elon said. She is, Rosa said. That's why this is so hard. She's helped everyone else her whole life. Now she needs help, and we can't give it to her. Miguel's phone buzzed with a text from Maria. Sophia is asking when she can see Abuela. It's breaking my heart. Hospital rules don't allow children in the ICU, Rosa explained to Elon. Sophia hasn't seen her grandmother in 4 days. That must be very hard for both of them. Sophia is only 8, but she and Carmen are best friends, Miguel said. They garden together, study space together, dream together. Space? Elon asked. Sophia wants to be an astronaut, Rosa said. Carmen encourages her every day. She tells Sophia that girls can do anything boys can do. She's right about that, Elon said. Some of our best engineers and scientists at SpaceX are women. Miguel's eyes widened. SpaceX? You work there? I do, Elon said simply. What does Sophia think about rockets? She knows everything, Miguel said with pride. Carmen has been teaching her about space since she was tiny. They watch every launch together from their backyard. Rosa smiled for the first time in days. Sophia can tell you how fast rockets go, how much they weigh, how long it takes to get to the space station. She's only 8, but she talks like a little scientist. I'd like to meet her sometime, Elon said. She would love that, Miguel said. But right now, she's too worried about her grandmother to think about anything else. A nurse approached their group. Mr. and Mrs. Velasquez? Dr. Martinez would like to speak with you. Miguel and Rosa stood up quickly, fear written on their faces. Go ahead, Elon said. I'll wait here. Dr. Martinez was a tall man with kind eyes and steady hands. He had been doing heart and brain surgeries for 15 years. How is my mother? Miguel asked. She's stable, but we need to make a decision about surgery. I've been thinking about her case, and I want to be honest with you. Rosa gripped Miguel's hand tightly. The surgery I recommended is good, but there's a newer procedure that might be better for your mother. It's less invasive, with faster recovery, time, and better long-term results. What's the catch? Miguel asked. It's more expensive, and it's not available here. There's a specialist in Houston, Dr. Sarah Chun at Houston Methodist Hospital, who pioneered this technique. Miguel felt his heart sink. If the regular surgery was too expensive, a specialized procedure in Houston was impossible. How much more expensive? Rosa asked. About $20,000 more for the surgery itself, plus travel and hotel costs while she recovers. Miguel did quick math. Instead of $80,000, they were looking at over $100,000. Doctor, Miguel said quietly, we're already struggling to pay for the regular surgery. This other option, it's not possible for us. Dr. Martinez looked sympathetic. I understand. The surgery we can do here is still very good. Your mother will have excellent results. After they returned to the waiting room, Miguel and Rosa sat in silence. Elon was still there, reading a magazine. How did it go? He asked. There's a better surgery available in Houston, Rosa said. But it costs even more money. I see, Elon said thoughtfully. What makes it better? Miguel explained what Dr. Martinez had told them about the newer procedure and Dr. Chen's expertise. Houston Methodist is an excellent hospital, Elon said. Dr. Chen has a very good reputation. You know about her? Rosa asked. I try to stay informed about medical advances. You never know when someone you care about might need help. Elon stood up. I should let you get back to your family. But before I go, can I ask one more thing? Of course, Miguel said. If money wasn't a problem, what would you want for your mother? Miguel didn't hesitate. The best possible care. The surgery that gives her the best chance of a full recovery. I want her to come home healthy and be able to watch Sophia grow up. I want her to see her first great-grandchild, Rosa added. My sister is having a baby in July, and I want Sophia to have her grandmother back, Miguel continued. They have so many plans together. Sophia is saving money to take Carmen to Kennedy Space Center. Carmen has been teaching her about space for years. Elon nodded slowly. Those sound like very good reasons to fight for the best possible outcome. After saying goodbye, Elon walked out to the hospital parking lot. He sat in his car for a long time, thinking about everything Miguel and Rosa had told him. He pulled out his phone and called Gwynn Shotwell, the president of SpaceX. Gwynn, it's Elon. I need some information about medical transportation and hospital partnerships. Sure. What's going on? I have a neighbor who needs specialized medical care. I want to understand our options for helping through official company channels. We have partnerships with several hospitals for employee health benefits. And our community outreach program has a medical assistance fund. How much is in that fund? About $200,000 annually. It's used for local emergencies and community health initiatives. Elon thought for a moment. What if we wanted to help a family with medical transportation and specialized care? That would definitely qualify. Do you want me to look into it? Not yet. Let me make another call first. Elon's next call was to Dr. Sarah Chun in Houston. They had met at a medical technology conference last year. Dr. Chun, this is Elon Musk. I hope you remember me from the medical tech conference. Of course. How can I help you? I have a situation. There's an elderly woman who needs a carotid endarterectomy. She's currently at Valley Baptist in Harlingen. But I understand you have a newer, less invasive technique. I do. The recovery time is much faster, and the long-term outcomes are significantly better. Would you be willing to see a patient if transportation and costs were arranged? Absolutely. When you're dealing with stroke prevention, every advantage matters. Good. I'll have someone contact you about scheduling. Elon's final call was to a number he rarely used. It was a direct line to someone who had helped him arrange discreet charitable assistance before. It's Elon. I need a favor, and it's important. Can you have everything ready by tomorrow morning? The voice on the other end assured him it would. Be done. As Elon drove back to Boca Chica, he felt the satisfaction that came from solving a complex problem. But this wasn't about engineering or business. This was about a little girl who talked to tomato plants and dreamed of growing food on Mars. This was about a teacher who had spent her life helping others and deserved help in return. The plan was taking shape. Carmen would get the best possible care, the family would keep their dignity, and Sophia would get her grandmother back. But the most important part of the plan was still ahead. Everything had to be done carefully, respectfully, and in a way that would seem like a miracle rather than charity. Sometimes the best engineering happened not in laboratories or factories, but in the quiet moments when you figured out how to help people without them even knowing you were there. The next morning at Valley Baptist Medical Center, Miguel was dozing in the uncomfortable plastic chair when he heard the sound of helicopter blades cutting through the air. He looked out the window and saw a white medical helicopter landing on the hospital's roof pad. Rosa, he whispered, shaking his wife gently. Wake up. Rosa opened her tired eyes. What's happening? I don't know. There's a helicopter landing. They had been at the hospital since 5 a.m., hoping to speak with Dr. Martinez about their final decision. They had counted and recounted the money from Carmen's broken jar. Even with help from family members, they could maybe gather $15,000. It wasn't nearly enough, but it was all they had. A few minutes later, a pilot in a blue uniform walked into the ICU waiting area. He was carrying a clipboard and looking around the room. Excuse me, the pilot said to the nurse at the desk. I'm looking for the family of Carmen Velasquez. We're here to transport her to Houston Methodist Hospital. Miguel and Rosa looked at each other in confusion. That's us. Miguel said, standing up quickly. But we didn't arrange any transport. The pilot checked his clipboard. Miguel and Rosa Velasquez? You're listed as the family contacts. There must be some mistake, Rosa said. We can't afford helicopter transport. Let me check with my dispatch, the pilot said, pulling out a radio. After a brief conversation, he turned back to them. No mistake. Transportation has been arranged and paid for. We're ready to take Mrs. Velasquez to Houston as soon as the medical team clears her for transport. Miguel felt dizzy. Paid for? By who? I don't have those details, sir. I just know we're here to help your family. Before Miguel could ask more questions, Mrs. Thompson appeared with a folder full of papers. Mr. and Mrs. Velasquez, she said, slightly out of breath. I have some very good news. An anonymous donor has stepped forward to cover all of your mother's medical expenses. Rosa sat down hard in her chair. What? Everything. The surgery, the hospital stay, the medicines, even the transportation to Houston. It's all been taken care of through our charity care program. Miguel stared at the papers Mrs. Thompson was holding. Anonymous donor? Who? I'm not allowed to share that information. The donor specifically requested to remain unknown. But they've also arranged for your family to stay in Houston during Mrs. Velasquez's recovery. This can't be real, Rosa whispered to Mrs. Thompson smiled. It's very real. Dr. Chun in Houston is expecting your mother this afternoon. She's one of the best surgeons in the country for this type of procedure. The pilot stepped forward. If you're ready, we can have Mrs. Velasquez in Houston in 45 minutes. Miguel's mind was spinning. Yesterday, they were facing impossible debt. Today, someone had solved all their problems with a single generous act. But who would do this? He asked. Mrs. Thompson, we don't know anyone with that kind of money. Sometimes people help because they can, not because they have to, Mrs. Thompson said. The important thing is that your mother is going to get the best possible care. An hour later, Miguel and Rosa were riding in the back of the medical helicopter. With Carmen, she was awake and alert, though still weak from the stroke. Mijo, Carmen said to Miguel in Spanish. What's happening? Where are we going? We're going to Houston, Mama. You're going to have surgery with the best doctor in Texas. Carmen looked confused. But the money. Don't worry about money, Mama. Everything is taken care of. Carmen squeezed Miguel's hand with her good arm. How? An angel? Rosa said, tears in her eyes. Someone we don't know sent us an angel. As the helicopter flew over the Texas countryside, Miguel looked down at the small towns and farms below. Somewhere down there, a person had decided to change their lives forever. Someone had looked at a struggling family and chosen to help, expecting nothing in return. In Houston Methodist Hospital was ready for them. Dr. Sarah Chun met them at the helicopter landing pad with a team of nurses and medical assistants. Mrs. Velasquez, Dr. Chun said warmly, I'm Dr. Chun. I'm going to take very good care of you. Carmen looked up at the doctor with grateful eyes. Thank you for helping me. That's what we're here for. Your family can stay in the waiting area while we get you settled. We'll do some tests today, and I'll perform your surgery first thing tomorrow morning. Miguel and Rosa were shown to a family waiting room that was much nicer than the one in Harlingen. There were comfortable chairs, a small kitchen area, and even a children's play corner. The hospital has arranged for you to stay at a nearby hotel tonight, a social worker named Ms. Patterson told them. All expenses are covered. This is too much, Miguel said. Whoever is doing this, we need to thank them. The donor was very specific about remaining anonymous, Ms. Patterson said. But they did leave a message for you. She handed Miguel a simple white card. In neat handwriting, it said, Every teacher deserves a chance to keep teaching. Every grandmother deserves to see her granddaughter grow up. Get well soon. Rosa started crying again. How did they know Carmen was a teacher? People talk, Miss Patterson said gently. Good deeds have a way of being noticed. That evening, Miguel called Maria to check on Sophia. His daughter's voice was small and scared on the phone. Papa, when is Abuela coming home? She's having surgery tomorrow, Mija. The doctors in Houston are going to make her all better. Houston? That's where the space center is. Miguel smiled. Even worried about her grandmother, Sophia thought about rockets. Yes, it's the same city. Maybe when Abuela gets better, you can visit together. Really? We could see where the astronauts train. Maybe, Sophia. First we have to wait for Abuela to get well. Papa, I've been taking care of her plants every day. and I've been reading her space books so I can tell her about everything I learned. Miguel's heart ached. His 8-year-old daughter was trying so hard to be brave. That's wonderful, Mija. Abuela will be so proud of you. Papa, the nice man next door helped me fix the watering can. He showed me how to water the plants the right way. What nice man? The one who builds rockets. He said his name is Elon. He knows a lot about plants too. Miguel felt a strange feeling in his chest. Elon, he's very kind, Papa. He asked lots of questions about Abuela and about me. He said girls make excellent astronauts. After Miguel hung up the phone, he sat quietly in the hotel room. Rosa was taking a shower, and he was alone with his thoughts. Elon, the man who had visited them at the hospital yesterday. The man who worked at SpaceX and seemed very interested in Carmen's story. The man who had asked what they would want if money wasn't a problem. Rosa, Miguel called when she came out of the bathroom. I think I know who our angel is. What do you mean? The man who visited us yesterday. Elon, Sophia said he's been helping her with the plants. He asked us all about Mama's life, her teaching, our financial situation. Rosa sat on the edge of the bed. You think he's the one? Think about it. He works at SpaceX. He has access to money and connections. He seemed very interested in our story. But why would someone like him help us? He doesn't even know us. Miguel thought about this. Maybe that's exactly why. Maybe when you have everything, you realize that the most important thing is helping people who have nothing. They sat in silence for a while, thinking about the kindness of a stranger who had given them hope when they had none left. The next morning, Dr. Chun performed Carmen's surgery. The procedure took 3 hours, and Miguel and Rosa waited anxiously in the family room. Finally, Dr. Chun appeared with a big smile. The surgery went perfectly. Your mother is going to make a full recovery. Full recovery? Rosa asked. Complete. The blockage in her artery is gone. Her brain function should return to normal within a few weeks. She'll need some physical therapy, but she should be able to live independently and do all the things she loves. Miguel felt his knees go weak. With relief. When can we see her? She's waking up now. You can visit in about an hour. When they saw Carmen, she was sitting up in bed looking more alert than she had in days. Her speech was clearer, and she could move her left arm. Mijo, she said to Miguel, I feel so much better. It's like a fog has lifted from my brain. Mama, you scared us so much, Rosa said, hugging her carefully. I'm sorry, Mija, but I'm okay now. The doctor says I can go home in a few days. We have a surprise for you, Miguel said. While you were sleeping, Sophia counted all the money in your savings jar. There's enough for your trip to Kennedy Space Center. Carmen's eyes filled with tears. But the hospital bills, taken care of, Mama. An anonymous donor paid for everything. Carmen was quiet for a long moment. Someone we don't know did this. Someone who believes that good people deserve good things, Rosa said. Carmen looked out the window at the Houston skyline. In the distance, she could see the NASA logo on a building. When I get home, she said quietly, I'm going to plant a new section in my garden. I'm going to call it the Gratitude Garden. Every plant will represent someone who showed us kindness. That's a beautiful idea, Mama, Miguel said. And the first plant, Carmen continued, will be for our guardian angel. Even if I never know who they are, I'll never forget what they did for our family. As Miguel looked at his mother's peaceful face, he thought about the chain of events that had brought them to this moment. A little girl crying in a garden. A stranger who stopped to listen. A family's love for each other. And somewhere in the middle of it all, an act of kindness so pure that it changed everything. Sometimes miracles didn't come from the sky. Sometimes they came from the quiet decision of one person to help another, expecting nothing in return. To Carmen's recovery over the next week was nothing short of amazing. Each day, her speech got clearer and her left arm grew stronger. Dr. Chun was impressed by how quickly she was healing. Your grandmother has the heart of a fighter, Dr. Chun told Miguel and Rosa. She's recovering faster than most patients half her age. Carmen spent her days in the hospital reading books about space that the nurses had brought her from the gift shop. She said she wanted to learn new things to teach Sophia when she got home. Mijo, Carmen said to Miguel on their 4th day in Houston, I want to do something special while we're here. What do you want to do, Mama? I want to visit the Johnson Space Center. I know Sophia can't be here with me, but I can take pictures and learn things to share with her. Rosa smiled. The doctor said you could take short trips as long as you don't get too tired. I have energy I haven't felt in months. Carmen said, "This surgery didn't just fix my artery. It gave me my life back." That afternoon, Miguel pushed Carmen's wheelchair through the Johnson Space Center Visitor Center. Her eyes were wide with wonder as she saw real space suits, moon rocks, and models of rockets. "Sophia is going to be so excited when I tell her about this," Carmen said, taking pictures with Miguel's phone. "Look at this spacesuit. It's exactly like the one she draws in her notebook." At the Mission Control exhibit, Carmen met other families visiting from around the world. She struck up conversations with children, asking about their dreams and sharing Sophia's story. "My granddaughter wants to be an astronaut," she told a shy 10-year-old boy from California. "She says she's going to grow tomatoes on Mars to feed the astronauts." The boy's eyes lit up. "That's so cool. I want to design rockets that can carry food to space." Carmen smiled. "Maybe you and Sophia will work together someday. The best discoveries happen when smart people help each other." As they walked through the exhibits, Carmen met other visitors dealing with their own challenges. A family from Mexico whose son had cancer. An elderly couple from Ohio whose grandson was recovering from a car accident. A single mother from Louisiana whose daughter had a learning disability but loved science. "Isn't it wonderful?" Carmen said. To Rosa, "How many people refuse to give up on their dreams, even when life gets hard?" Carmen listened to each family's story and offered encouragement. She shared tips for helping children who struggled in school. She gave the cancer patient's family the phone number of a Spanish-speaking social worker at Houston Methodist. She wrote down science book recommendations for the girl with learning differences. "Mama," Miguel said as they prepared to leave, "you just spent the day helping other people. You're supposed to be resting." "Helping people is what gives me energy," Carmen said. "I've been lying in a hospital bed feeling useless. Today I remembered who I am." Back at the hospital that evening, Carmen called Sophia for their nightly video chat. Sophia's face appeared on Miguel's phone screen, beaming with excitement. "Abuela, you look so much better. I feel better, Mija, and I have something special to show you." Carmen had Miguel scroll through the photos from their space center. "Visit." Sophia gasped and pointed at each picture. "Is that a real rocket engine? And is that where the astronauts train?" "Oh, Abuela, I can't wait to go there with you." "We will, Sophia. As soon as I get home, we'll start planning our trip." "Abuela, I have something to tell you too. I've been taking care of your garden every single day, and the nice man next door has been helping me." Carmen raised an eyebrow. "Nice man? His name is Elon. He knows a lot about plants and space. He fixed our watering can and showed me how to make the tomatoes grow better." Carmen looked at Miguel with curiosity. "Who is this Elon?" Miguel felt that familiar feeling in his chest. "Just a neighbor, Mama. He's been very kind. He asked me lots of questions about you," Sophia continued. "He wanted to know about your teaching and your garden and how much I love you." Carmen smiled. "He sounds like a good neighbor. We'll have to thank him properly when I get home." "Abuela, wait until you see the garden. It looks even better than before you got sick. The tomatoes are huge, and the peppers are growing so fast." After the video call ended, Carmen sat quietly in her hospital bed. Something about Sophia's story felt important, but she couldn't quite figure out what. Meanwhile, back in Boca Chica, Elon was indeed tending to Carmen's garden. Each morning before work, he walked over to water the plants and check for any problems. He had been studying gardening videos online, learning about the specific needs of each type of plant. He discovered Carmen's garden journal in the small shed behind her house. Every page was filled with careful notes about when to plant, how much water each plant needed, and what each plant meant to her family. Big Bertha, tomato planted March 15th. Seeds from Mama's garden in Guadalajara. Sophia's favorite for making salsa. Miguel's mighty tomatoes, hardy variety that can survive Texas heat. Started from seeds Miguel brought from his construction site garden project. Rosa's sweet herbs, cilantro and parsley. Rosa uses these for her famous enchiladas. Plant new seeds every 4 weeks for continuous harvest. Each entry told a story. The garden wasn't just about growing food. It was about keeping family memories alive and creating new ones. Elon also found a section in the journal titled Future Plans. Carmen had written, "Expand herb garden in fall. Add mint for Sophia's favorite tea. Plant sunflowers along the back fence." Sophia says they look like little suns reaching for space. save money for greenhouse so we can grow vegetables year-round, and share with neighbors who need fresh food. Reading Carmen's journal, Elon understood that this garden was the heart of her world. Every plant had been chosen with love and purpose. He carefully followed her watering schedule and plant care instructions. When he noticed aphids on the pepper plants, he researched natural ways to remove them without chemicals, the way Carmen preferred. One morning, while tending to the tomatoes, Elon heard a car door slam. He looked over the fence and saw a young woman he didn't recognize walking toward Carmen's house. "Excuse me," the woman called. "Are you taking care of Mrs. Velasquez's garden?" "Yes," Elon said. "I'm a neighbor." "Are you family?" "I'm Maria, Miguel's sister." "I'm watching Sophia." Maria looked confused. Sophia said a nice man was helping with the plants, but I expected someone different. Elon smiled. "Different how?" "Younger, I guess. Or maybe one of the regular neighbors. Sophia described you as the rocket man who makes plants grow better. Kids have good imaginations," Elon said. Maria studied his face. "You look familiar. Do you work around here?" "I work in the area," Elon said truthfully. "Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. The garden has never looked better. Carmen is going to be amazed when she gets home." "When is she coming back?" "Tomorrow. The doctor said she's ready." Sophia is so excited she can barely sleep. That evening, Elon made sure everything in the garden was perfect. He had installed a simple irrigation system that would make watering easier for Carmen when she returned. He had also repaired the small fence gate and added a new latch that Sophia could reach easily to. As he worked, he thought about the impact one person could have on a community. Carmen had spent her life teaching children, helping neighbors, and creating beauty in a small corner of the world. Her kindness had rippled outward, touching everyone around her. Sophia appeared at the fence just as Elon was finishing his work. "Mr. Elon, Abuela comes home tomorrow. I heard. You must be very happy." "I am. And wait until she sees her garden. It's like magic happened while she was away." Gardens have a way of taking care of themselves when they're planted with love, Elon said. Sophia looked at the thriving plants and then at Elon. "Thank you for helping me take care of Abuela's dreams. Thank you for showing me how important dreams can be." Elon replied that as Sophia ran back to the house. Elon realized that helping the Velasquez family had changed him too. He had built companies worth billions of dollars, but nothing had felt as meaningful as watching a little girl's face light up because her grandmother's tomatoes were healthy. Tomorrow, Carmen would come home to discover that her garden had flourished in her absence. She would see that someone had cared for her plants with the same love and attention she had always given them. But she still wouldn't know that her quiet neighbor was the guardian angel who had saved her life and restored her family's hope. Sometimes the most important work happened in shadows, where kindness could grow without recognition or reward. Sophia woke up before sunrise on the day her grandmother was coming home. She had barely slept, tossing and turning with excitement all night. Today was the day she had been waiting for since. Carmen collapsed in the kitchen 10 days ago. She ran to her bedroom window and looked out at Carmen's garden. In the early morning light, everything looked perfect. The tomato plants were tall and heavy with fruit. The pepper plants were bursting with green and red peppers. Even the herbs looked fuller and healthier than before. "It really does look like magic," Sophia whispered to herself. Maria was already awake in the kitchen, making coffee and preparing for the big day. "Buenos dias, little astronaut," Maria said when Sophia appeared. "Are you ready to see your abuela?" "I've been ready for 10 days, Sophia said, bouncing on her toes. "When will Papa and Mama bring her home?" "The hospital said they can leave at noon, so probably around 3 o'clock this afternoon." Sophia looked at the clock. It was only 6:30 a.m. That meant 8.5 more hours of waiting. "Tia Maria, can we make something special for abuela? Like a welcome home surprise?" "What did you have in mind?" Sophia thought for a moment. "Can we pick some of her vegetables and make her favorite salsa? The one with the tomatoes and peppers from her garden." "That's a wonderful idea, but we should wait until closer to when she gets home, so the vegetables are fresh." "And can we make a sign with pictures of rockets and spaceships?" Maria smiled. "Of course, but first, eat some breakfast. You need energy for this big day." While Sophia ate her cereal, she chattered nonstop about all the things she wanted to show her grandmother. "I learned 3 new constellations while she was gone, and I finished reading her book about the International Space Station." and I practiced making her special knot for tying up the tomato plants. You've been very busy, Maria said. I wanted to have lots of new things to tell her. I didn't want her to think I just sat around being sad while she was away. Sophia, it would have been okay if you were sad. Missing someone you love is normal. I was sad, Sophia admitted, but I tried to use my sad feelings to take better care of her garden. Abuela always says that when you're worried about something, it helps to do something useful with your hands. At 10 a.m., Sophia convinced Maria to let her pick vegetables for the salsa. They went out to the garden with a small basket, and Sophia carefully selected the best tomatoes and peppers. These are perfect, Sophia said, holding up a large red tomato. Big Bertha always gives the best fruit. As they worked, Sophia noticed someone moving around in the yard next door. Oh, that's Mr. Elon, Sophia said, waving over the fence. He's the one who helped me take care of everything. Elon looked up from his own garden and waved back. Good morning, Sophia. Big day today, right? The biggest day ever. Abuela is coming home. I'm sure she'll be very happy to see you in her garden. Mr. Elon, would you like to meet her? She's been asking about the nice neighbor who helped with the plants. Elon felt a flutter of nervousness. Meeting Carmen face-to-face would be different from helping anonymously from a distance. Maybe later, he said. Today should be about family time. Okay, but she really wants to thank you properly. Abuela believes in thanking people who show kindness. After picking the vegetables, Sophia and Maria spent the morning making decorations. They created a banner that said, "Welcome home, Abuela," with drawings of rockets, planets, and tomatoes. Sophia insisted on adding a small picture of the SpaceX rockets visible from their backyard. Abuela loves watching the rockets almost as much as I do, Sophia explained at by 2 p.m. Sophia was sitting on the front porch steps, watching the road for any sign of her parents' car. Every time a vehicle appeared in the distance, she jumped up with excitement. Is that them? Is that them? Not yet, Mija, Maria said patiently. Finally, at 2:45 p.m., Miguel's pickup truck turned onto their street. Sophia could see 3 people in the front seat, her parents and her grandmother. Abuela, Sophia shouted, running toward the truck before it had even stopped. Carmen was sitting by the passenger window, and when she saw Sophia running toward her, tears of joy filled her eyes. She looked so much better than when Sophia had last seen her through the hospital room window on a video call. Miguel parked the truck and hurried around to help Carmen out. She was walking with a cane, but her smile was bright and her eyes were clear. Sophia threw herself into her grandmother's arms. Careful not to hug too hard. Abuela, you're really home. You're really okay. I'm home, Mija, Carmen said, stroking Sophia's hair. And I missed you so much. I missed you too. But wait until you see your garden. It's even more beautiful than before. Carmen looked toward her backyard, and her eyes widened in amazement. From where she stood, she could see the tops of her tomato plants reaching higher than the fence. Everything looked incredibly green and healthy. Sophia, did you really take care of all that by yourself? Well, I had some help. The nice neighbor I told you about, Mr. Elon. He taught me how to water everything properly and how to tie up the tomato plants when they got heavy. Carmen looked puzzled. Mr. Elon? He's really kind, Abuela. And he knows a lot about rockets too. He said girls make excellent astronauts. I'd like to meet this helpful neighbor, Carmen said. Rosa appeared from the truck carrying a small suitcase and a bag full of flowers that hospital visitors had brought to Carmen's room. Let's get you inside first, Mama, Rosa said. You need to rest after the long drive. But Carmen was drawn to her garden like a magnet. She walked slowly toward the backyard gate, leaning on her cane but moving with determination. When she opened the gate and saw her garden, she gasped. Dios mío, she whispered. Everything was not just alive, it was thriving. The tomato plants were heavy with more fruit than she had ever seen. The pepper plants were bursting with vegetables. The herbs were full and green. Even the soil looked richer and darker. Sophia, this is incredible. How did you do all this? Mr. Elon showed me about the watering and the plant food. And look, Abuela, he fixed the irrigation system so it's easier for you to water everything. Carmen noticed the new sprinkler system and the repaired gate. Someone had also added a small bench near her favorite rose bush, positioned perfectly for morning sun. This neighbor of ours, he did all this work. He said gardens need love and attention, just like people do. And he said your plants were special because they were planted with so much care. Carmen walked slowly through her garden, touching each plant gently. She noticed that her garden journal was back in its proper place in the shed, with new entries written in careful handwriting that wasn't hers. July 15th. Tomatoes showing slight yellowing on lower leaves. Adjusted watering schedule. Added organic fertilizer as noted in Carmen's June entries. July 18th. Aphids spotted on pepper plants. Removed by hand and applied soap spray solution. Recipe from Carmen's journal, page 23. No chemical pesticides used. July 20th. Big Bertha producing heavily. Added support stakes. Sophia very excited about tomato size. Carmen flipped through several pages of detailed care notes. Whoever had written these entries clearly understood and respected her gardening methods. Abuela, are you crying? Sophia asked, worried. Happy tears, Mija. These are very happy tears. Carmen sat down on the new bench and pulled Sophia onto her lap. They looked out at the garden that had flourished during her absence. You know what this reminds me of? Carmen said. What? It reminds me that even when we can't take care of something ourselves, love finds a way. Someone saw that this garden was important to us, and they made sure it survived until I could come home. Do you think we'll ever find out who our guardian angel is? Sophia asked. Carmen looked toward the house next door, where she could see a tall figure moving around in the distance. Maybe we already have, she said thoughtfully. That evening, the whole family gathered in Carmen's backyard for a welcome home dinner. Miguel grilled vegetables from the garden while Rosa made fresh tortillas. Sophia proudly served the salsa she and Maria had made from Carmen's tomatoes and peppers. This is the best salsa I've ever tasted, Carmen said. The tomatoes are so sweet and perfect. That's because they had the best care while you were gone. Miguel said that as the sun set behind the SpaceX rockets in the distance, Carmen felt a deep sense of gratitude. She was home, healthy, and surrounded by family. Her garden had not only survived but flourished. And somewhere nearby was a neighbor whose kindness had made it all possible. Tomorrow, Carmen said to Sophia as they watched the first stars appear, we need to do something special to thank Mr. Elon. What should we do? I'm thinking about that. But it needs to be something that shows him how much his kindness meant to our family. As they sat in the peaceful garden, listening to the evening sounds of their neighborhood, Carmen had no idea that the man who had saved her life was watching from his own backyard, feeling grateful that she was home safe and surrounded by love. Sometimes the greatest gifts were the ones that brought families back together and dreams back to life. 2 weeks after Carmen came home from the hospital, she was sitting in her favorite rocking chair on the front porch when Mrs. Rodriguez from across the street walked over with her 9-year-old grandson, Danny. Carmen, it's so good to see you looking healthy again, Mrs. Rodriguez said. We were all so worried. Thank you, Elena. I'm feeling stronger every day. Mrs. Rodriguez looked nervous. I hate to bother you when you're still recovering, but Danny is having trouble with his math homework. I know you used to tutor children before you retired. Carmen's face lit up. Of course, I would love to help Danny. Being useful again is the best medicine for me. That afternoon, Danny became Carmen's first student since her stroke. They sat at the kitchen table while Sophia worked on her own homework nearby. Math is hard, Danny said, staring at his worksheet with frustration. Math is like a puzzle, Carmen said gently. Every problem has an answer. We just have to find the right path to get there. She used the same methods that had made her a beloved teacher for 35 years. When Danny struggled with multiplication, Carmen brought out measuring cups and had him calculate how many cups of water it would take to fill different sized pots. If this small pot holds 2 cups and I need to fill 4 pots, how many cups do I need total? Danny counted carefully. 8 cups. Exactly. That's 2 times 4 equals 8. You just solved a multiplication problem. Sophia watched her grandmother teach and felt proud. This was the Carmen she remembered, patient, creative, and able to make any subject interesting. Within a week, word had spread through the neighborhood that Carmen was tutoring again. 3 more children showed up at her door, brought by parents who couldn't afford expensive tutoring services. Mrs. Velasquez, said Maria Santos, dropping off her twin 8-year-olds. I work 2 jobs and can't help them with homework. They're falling behind in reading. Bring them every Tuesday and Thursday, Carmen said without hesitation. We'll get them caught up. Carmen's living room became a classroom again. She helped 10-year-old Alex with science experiments using items from her kitchen. She taught 7-year-old Isabella to read using books about space and rockets that Sophia shared from her collection. Learning should be fun, Carmen told the children. If you're curious about something, that's your brain telling you it's ready to grow. Sophia became Carmen's assistant teacher, helping younger children while working on her own advanced projects. Carmen had noticed that Sophia's science knowledge was far ahead of her grade level. Mija, Carmen said one afternoon after the other. Children had gone home. I think you need more challenging work. What do you mean, Abuela? I mean you're ready for high school science books. You understand things that most kids don't learn until they're much older. Sophia's eyes grew wide. Really? Really? This weekend, we're going to the library to find you some books about rocket engineering and space biology. Space biology. The science of how living things survive in space. If you want to grow tomatoes on Mars, you need to understand how plants work in different environments. That Saturday, Carmen and Sophia walked to the Boca Chica Public Library together. Carmen was still using her cane, but she was getting stronger every day. The librarian, Mrs. Patterson, was delighted to see Carmen. How are you feeling? We miss seeing you and Sophia here every week. Much better, thank you. Today we're looking for advanced science books for this young scientist. Mrs. Patterson looked surprised. Advanced books? For Sophia? Show her what? You know, Mija, Carmen encouraged. Sophia began explaining the basics of rocket propulsion, orbital mechanics, and the challenges of growing food in space. Mrs. Patterson's eyes grew wider with each topic Sophia covered. My goodness, how do you know all this? Abuela has been teaching me since I was little, and I read everything I can find about space. Mrs. Patterson led them to a section of the library Sophia had never seen before. These are college-level textbooks. Let's see what interests you. Sophia picked up a book about astrobiology and began reading the first chapter out loud, explaining the concepts to Carmen as she went. Incredible, Mrs. Patterson whispered to Carmen. She's reading at a college level and understanding complex scientific concepts. Sophia has a gift, Carmen said proudly. My job is to make sure she has every opportunity to develop it. They checked out 6 books that day, covering topics from planetary geology to hydroponics. Sophia could barely contain her excitement. Abuela, these books are going to teach me everything I need to know about growing food in space. Knowledge is like planting seeds, Carmen said. The more you plant, the bigger your garden of understanding grows. Back at home, Carmen's tutoring program continued to expand. Parents began bringing children from other neighborhoods. Some offered to pay Carmen for her time, but she always refused. Education should never depend on how much money a family has. Carmen told Rosa one evening, every child deserves help with learning. But Mama, you're working so hard. Maybe you should accept some payment. The payment is seeing children succeed. That's worth more than money. However, Carmen did notice that some families were struggling with more than just homework help. The Martinez family couldn't afford school supplies. The Johnson children often came to tutoring sessions hungry. Mrs. Kim worked so many hours at her restaurant that she barely saw her daughter. Carmen decided to do something about it. She started what she called Seeds of Hope, a small program where families could grow their own vegetables in her backyard. If you help me tend the garden, Carmen told parents, you can take home fresh vegetables for your family. Soon, Carmen's backyard became a community gathering place. Parents worked in the garden while their children did homework at the outdoor table Miguel had built. Carmen taught both gardening and academic subjects, showing how science, math, and reading all connected to growing food. See how we measure the spacing between plants? Carmen explained to a group of children and parents. That's geometry. And when we calculate how much water each plant needs, that's algebra. Sophia loved having other children around who were excited about learning. She became the garden's expert on space vegetables, plants that might someday grow on other planets. Potatoes are perfect for Mars, Sophia explained to her new friend Marcus, whose mother had started bringing him for tutoring. They grow underground, so they'd be protected from radiation. How do you know so much about Mars? Marcus asked. My abuela and I study space together. We're going to visit Kennedy Space Center where the real rockets launch. You're so lucky, Marcus said. I wish I could see real rockets. Sophia looked thoughtful. Maybe you can. Abuela says dreams work better when you share them with friends. Meanwhile, Elon had been watching the transformation of Carmen's backyard from his own property. Every afternoon, he could see children working in the garden while Carmen taught lessons under the shade tree. Her recovery had led to something even more beautiful than her health returning. She was building a community. He found himself looking forward to the sounds of children laughing and learning that drifted over the fence. Sometimes he would time his own gardening work to coincide with Carmen's outdoor lessons, listening to her creative teaching methods. One afternoon, while trimming his hedge near the fence, Elon overheard Sophia explaining rocket science to a group of younger children. The reason rockets need to go so fast is because they have to escape Earth's gravity, Sophia said. It's like throwing a ball straight up in the air. If you don't throw it hard enough, it falls back down. But how fast do they have to go? Asked a little boy. About 25,000 miles per hour, Sophia answered confidently. That's called escape velocity. Elon was impressed. Sophia's explanation was scientifically accurate and perfectly appropriate for her audience. Sophia, came Carmen's voice. Why don't you show them how we can demonstrate gravity with the watering can? Elon watched as Sophia filled a watering can and held it at different heights, showing how the water fell faster from higher up. She was a natural teacher, just like her grandmother. That evening, Elon sat on his back porch thinking about what he had witnessed. Carmen's recovery had created ripple effects throughout the community. Children were learning, families were growing food together, and parents were supporting each other. One act of kindness, saving Carmen's life, had multiplied into countless other acts of kindness. Carmen was teaching children who might not otherwise get help. Parents were sharing resources and support. Sophia was inspiring other children to dream bigger. Elon realized that the best investment he had ever made wasn't in any company or technology. It was in preserving Carmen's ability to keep changing lives. One child at a time, as he watched the last light fade from Carmen's garden, where tomorrow more children would come to learn and grow. Elon understood that sometimes the most important innovations happen not in laboratories, but in backyards where teachers shared their wisdom and children planted seeds of hope for the future. 6 months after Carmen's surgery, the SpaceX Starbase facility announced something exciting for the local community. They were starting a new education program and needed a teacher who could help create space science lessons for elementary school students. Listen to this, Rosa said, reading from the newspaper at breakfast. SpaceX is looking for an experienced educator to develop curriculum that makes rocket science accessible to young children. Applications are due next week. Carmen looked up from helping Sophia with her morning math problems. That sounds interesting, but they probably want someone younger with a college degree in science. Mama, Miguel said, you have 35 years of teaching experience, and Sophia has learned more about space from you than most high school students know. Besides, Sophia added, you make everything easy to understand. Remember when you taught Marcus about gravity using the watering can? Now he wants to be a rocket scientist too. Carmen had been thinking about going back to work. Her tutoring program was wonderful, but she missed having a regular classroom and steady income. The surgery and recovery had used up most of her small savings. Maybe I should apply, Carmen said slowly. The worst they can say is no. Sophia jumped up from her chair. Abuela, you have to apply. Imagine if you got to teach space science at the place where they build real rockets. That weekend, Carmen spent hours working on her application. She wrote about her teaching experience, her passion for making science fun, and her belief that every child could learn if given the right encouragement. I don't know much about rocket engineering, Carmen wrote in her cover letter, but I know how to help children believe in themselves and their dreams. Sometimes that's the most important lesson of all. Sophia helped her grandmother prepare for the interview by asking practice questions and sharing everything she had learned about SpaceX from her research. Tell them about your teaching methods, Sophia suggested, like how you use cooking to teach fractions and gardening to teach biology. And tell them about me, Sophia added excitedly. Tell them how you helped a third grader learn about orbital mechanics and escape velocity. The day of the interview, Carmen put on her best dress and carried a folder full of lesson plans she had created over the years. Sophia hugged her tightly. Before she left, you're going to do great, Abuela. They're lucky to get someone as smart and kind as you. At the SpaceX facility, Carmen was impressed by the size and complexity of the operation. Rockets towered in the distance, and people in white coats hurried between buildings carrying important-looking papers. The interview was held in a conference room with large windows overlooking the launch pad. Carmen met with 3 members of the education team, including Dr. Sarah Kim, the Director of Community Outreach. Mrs. Velasquez, Dr. Kim said, "We've reviewed your application, and we're very impressed with your teaching background. Can you tell us about your approach to science education?" Carmen took a deep breath. "I believe that children learn best when they can connect new ideas to things they already know and care about. For example, if I'm teaching about the solar system, I might start by talking about how plants need the sun to grow, just like the planets need the sun's gravity to stay in orbit." The panel asked her about classroom management, curriculum development, and working with children from different backgrounds. Carmen answered each question thoughtfully, drawing from decades of experience. "What interests you most about space science?" asked Mr. Rodriguez, the curriculum specialist. "Honestly, I didn't know much about rockets until my granddaughter fell in love with space," Carmen admitted. "But watching her excitement taught me that space science isn't just about math and physics. It's about dreaming big and believing that impossible things can become possible." "Tell us about your granddaughter," Dr. Kim said with interest. Carmen's face lit up. "Sophia is 8 years old, and she wants to be an astronaut. She knows more about rockets than most adults. She can explain escape velocity, orbital mechanics, and life support systems. But more importantly, she believes that humans will live on Mars someday, and she wants to help make that happen by learning how to grow food in space." "How did she learn so much at such a young age?" Mr. Rodriguez asked. "We study together. We watch launches from our backyard, read books from the library, and do experiments in our garden. Learning is more fun when you share it with someone you love." The interview team exchanged impressed looks. After an hour of questions, Dr. Kim walked Carmen to the lobby. "Thank you for coming in today. We'll be in touch within a week." Carmen left feeling hopeful but nervous. The other candidates probably had science degrees and formal training in aerospace education. 3 days later, Carmen received a phone call that changed everything. "Mrs. Velasquez? This is Dr. Kim from SpaceX. We'd like to offer you the position of Community Education Coordinator." Carmen sat down hard in her kitchen chair. "Really? You want to hire me?" "We were unanimous in our decision. Your passion for teaching and your ability to make complex concepts accessible to children is exactly what we need. Plus, your idea about connecting space science to everyday experiences like gardening was brilliant." I don't know what to say. The position comes with a full benefits package, including health insurance and a retirement plan. You'll be developing curriculum for elementary schools throughout South Texas. After Carmen hung up the phone, she sat in her kitchen for several minutes, hardly believing what had happened. She was going to work for SpaceX. At 78 years old, she was starting a new career in space education. When Sophia came home from school that afternoon, Carmen was waiting on the front porch with a huge smile. "Abuela, you look like you have a secret," Sophia said. "I do have a secret. I got the job at SpaceX." Sophia dropped her backpack and ran to her grandmother. "You're going to teach rocket science?" "For real. I'm going to teach children about space science. And guess what? My first project is creating a program for students just like you, kids who are already interested in space but want to learn more." "This is the best day ever," Sophia said, spinning around the front yard. "My abuela is going to work where they build rockets." That evening, the whole family celebrated at Carmen's favorite restaurant. Miguel and Rosa were proud and amazed by this new chapter in Carmen's life. "6 months ago, we were worried about losing you," Miguel said, raising his glass of water. "Now you're about to start the most exciting job you've ever had. Sometimes life gives you second chances," Carmen said. "I'm grateful for every day, and especially grateful for this opportunity to keep learning and teaching." "When do you start?" Rosa asked. "Next Monday. I'll be working 3 days a week, developing lessons and visiting schools. The rest of the time, I can keep tutoring children in our neighborhood." Sophia had been unusually quiet during dinner. Finally, she spoke up. "Abuela, do you think you'll meet the person who helped save your life?" Carmen paused with her fork halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean, Mija?" "Well, the person who paid for your surgery and helped you get better." Maybe they work at SpaceX too. Maybe this job is another gift from your guardian angel. Carmen thought about this. She had often wondered about the anonymous donor who had saved her life and changed her family's future. Getting this job at SpaceX did seem like another miraculous opportunity. I don't know, Sophia, but if I do meet them someday, I want to be ready to show them how much their kindness meant to our family. How will you do that? By being the best teacher I can be. By helping other children the way you've been helped. By paying forward all the love and support we've received. As they drove home that night, Sophia pressed her face against the car window to look at the SpaceX rockets silhouetted against the evening sky. Abuela, tomorrow when you go to work, you'll be walking under those same rockets every day. Yes, Mija. And every day, I'll remember how dreams can come true when people believe in each other. Carmen didn't know it yet, but her new job would bring her closer to the truth about her mysterious benefactor than she could have imagined. Sometimes the best gifts came disguised as opportunities, and sometimes guardian angels worked in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Her first day at SpaceX was going to be more surprising than she could possibly expect. Carmen's first day at SpaceX started early. She arrived at 7:30 a.m., carrying a tote bag filled with teaching supplies and a thermos of coffee that Sophia had insisted on making for her. For good luck on your first day, Abuela, Sophia had said that morning. And remember to tell everyone about growing tomatoes on Mars. The SpaceX education building was smaller than the main facility, but Carmen was still amazed by everything she saw. Engineers walked by carrying rocket parts. Computers showed videos of launches and landings. Through the windows, she could see the enormous Starship rockets that she and Sophia watched from their backyard. Dr. Kim met Carmen at the front desk and gave her a tour of her new workspace. "This is your office," Dr. Kim said, opening the door to a small room with a desk, computer, and a bookshelf already filled with science textbooks. "And this is where you'll develop your curriculum." Carmen set down her bag and looked around. On the desk was a welcome note and a small model of a SpaceX rocket. "We're so excited to have you join our team," Dr. Kim continued. "This afternoon, you'll give a presentation to some of our staff about your teaching philosophy. Nothing formal, just share your ideas about making science accessible to children." "How many people will be there?" Carmen asked nervously. "Maybe 15 or 20. Engineers, educators, and some of our leadership team. They're all eager to hear your perspective." Carmen spent the morning reviewing materials and preparing her presentation. She decided to focus on the idea that children learn best when they can connect science to their own lives and dreams. At 2 p.m., Carmen walked into a conference room filled with people in SpaceX shirts and name badges. Everyone looked very smart and important. She suddenly felt nervous about being a 78-year-old retired elementary school teacher among all these rocket scientists. "Good afternoon, everyone," Dr. Kim said. "I'd like you to meet Carmen Velasquez, our new community education coordinator. Carmen is going to share some ideas about teaching space science to young children." Carmen stood up and looked at the friendly faces around the table. She took a deep breath and began. "Thank you for welcoming me to SpaceX. I have to admit, 6 months ago, I never imagined I would be standing in a room full of rocket scientists." There were some chuckles around the table. "I've been a teacher for 35 years, but I'm not a scientist. What I am is someone who believes that every child has the capacity to dream big and achieve amazing things. My job is to help them believe it too." Carmen clicked to her first slide, which showed a picture of Sophia working in the garden. "This is my granddaughter Sophia. She's 8 years old, and she wants to be an astronaut. More specifically, she wants to grow food on Mars to help feed future space travelers." The room was quiet and attentive. Sophia learned about space not from textbooks, but from real experiences. "We watch your rockets launch from our backyard. We study the stars together. We grow vegetables and talk about how plants might survive on other planets." Carmen advanced to the next slide, showing Sophia's drawings of Mars gardens and rocket ships. Children don't just want to learn facts. They want to understand how those facts connect to their dreams. When Sophia learns about escape velocity, she's not just memorizing numbers. She's figuring out what it will take to reach her goal of traveling to space. One of the engineers in the back row raised his hand. "How do you make complex concepts like orbital mechanics understandable to young children?" "Great question," Carmen said. Let me tell you about our watering can experiment. She explained how she and Sophia had used everyday objects to demonstrate gravity, momentum, and trajectory. The room was engaged, with people taking notes and nodding. The key is starting with what children already know and care about, then connecting it to the bigger concepts. Sophia understands rocket trajectories because we first talked about throwing a ball or water flowing from a watering can. Carmen presented for 20 minutes, sharing stories about her neighborhood tutoring program and her methods for making science fun and accessible. The audience asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely interested in her ideas. Any final questions? Dr. Kim asked. A man in the back row stood up. Carmen hadn't noticed him before, but something about his posture seemed familiar. Mrs. Velasquez, the man said, I'm curious about your recovery process. I understand you had some health challenges recently that could have prevented you from being here today. Carmen felt a slight chill. Something about this man's voice reminded her of someone, but she couldn't place it. Yes, she said carefully. I had a stroke 6 months ago. I was very fortunate to receive excellent medical care that saved my life. That must have been a difficult time for your family, the man continued. It was, but we were blessed to have help from an anonymous donor who made sure I got the best possible treatment. Without that person's kindness, I wouldn't be here today. The man took a step forward, and Carmen could see his face more clearly. He was tall, with dark hair and kind eyes. Something about him seemed very familiar. What would you say to that person if you could meet them? He asked. Carmen felt her heart begin to beat faster. I would tell them that they didn't just save my life. They saved my family's future, my granddaughter's dreams, my ability to keep teaching children. They changed everything for us. The man nodded slowly. And what if they told you that helping your family was one of the most meaningful things they had ever done? Carmen stared at him. The voice, the way he stood, the questions he was asking, it all suddenly clicked into place. You, she whispered. I'm Elon, he said simply. Your neighbor who helped with the garden. Carmen felt dizzy. She gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. You're the one who saved my family, she said, barely above a whisper. You saved your own family, Elon said gently. I just made sure you had the chance to do it. The room was completely silent. Everyone could sense they were witnessing something extraordinary. Carmen walked around the table toward Elon, tears streaming down her face. All this time it was you. The garden care, the surgery, this job. The job is real, Elon said quickly. You earned it with your qualifications and your interview. I didn't influence the hiring decision, but you knew I would apply. I hoped you would. Your teaching methods are exactly what our education program needs. Carmen stopped in front of Elon, looking up at this man who had quietly changed her entire world. Why? She asked. Why would you help a family you barely knew? Elon was quiet for a moment. Do you remember the day I first heard Sophia crying in your garden? Carmen nodded. She was talking to your tomato plants, promising to take care of them until you came home. She was 8 years old, trying to carry the weight of her family's problems on her small shoulders. But she wasn't giving up hope. Elon's voice became softer. That kind of love and determination reminded me of my own grandmother. She believed in me when no one else did. She taught me that dreams were worth fighting for. So you decided to fight for Sophia's dreams. I decided to fight for your family's dreams. Sophia's dream of becoming an astronaut. Your dream of seeing her grow up. Miguel and Rose's dream of giving their daughter a good life. Carmen covered her face with her hands and began to cry. Not sad tears, but tears of overwhelming gratitude. You gave us everything, she said. Hope when we had none. A future when we thought it was over. You gave me something too, Elon said. You reminded me that the most important work isn't always about reaching Mars or building the fastest rockets. Sometimes it's about helping a little girl believe her dreams can come true. Carmen looked around the room at all the SpaceX employees watching this moment. Does everyone know? Only a few people, Dr. Kim said gently. We arranged the job posting specifically hoping you would apply, but the hiring decision was based entirely on your qualifications. And the presentation today, Carmen asked, was your idea to share? Elon said, though I was hoping it might lead to this conversation. Carmen turned back to Elon. I don't know how to thank you. You already have, Elon said. By getting better, by continuing to teach, by raising Sophia to believe she can change the world. She talks about you all the time. She calls you the nice man who makes plants grow and dreams come true." Elon smiled. "She's the one who showed me that the best rockets are the ones that lift other people up." Carmen reached out and took Elon's hands in hers. "You saved my life, but you also saved my family's future. Sophia is going to be an astronaut someday, and it's because you believed in her dreams when everything seemed impossible. I believe in her dreams because you taught her to dream big. You're the one who planted the seeds of hope in her mind." As Carmen stood in that conference room, surrounded by rocket scientists and holding the hands of the man who had been her family's guardian angel, she understood that sometimes miracles happened through the simple decision of one person to help another. And sometimes the best discoveries weren't made in space, but right here on Earth, in the moment when kindness revealed itself and changed everything. Carmen could barely focus on driving home from SpaceX that afternoon. Her hands were shaking slightly as she gripped the steering wheel, and her mind was spinning with everything that had happened. Elon Musk, her famous neighbor, the man who built rockets and dreamed of sending people to Mars. He was the guardian angel who had saved her life and changed her family's future forever. When she pulled into her driveway, she sat in the car for several minutes, trying to figure out how to tell Sophia the incredible truth. Sophia was waiting on the front porch, bouncing with excitement. She ran to the car as soon as Carmen opened the door. "Abuela, how was your first day? Did you see any real rockets? Did you meet any astronauts? Did you tell them about growing tomatoes on Mars?" Carmen looked at her granddaughter's eager face and felt a wave of emotion wash over her. "Mija, I have something amazing to tell you. But first, let's sit down in the garden." They walked to Carmen's favorite bench, the one that had mysteriously appeared while she was in the hospital. Sophia settled next to her grandmother, still chattering with excitement. The SpaceX rockets looked so tall from inside the building, and I bet the engineers are super smart. Did you show them my drawings? Did you tell them I want to work there someday? Sophia, Carmen said gently, taking her granddaughter's hands. "I need you to listen carefully to something very important." Sophia's eyes grew wide. "What is it, Abuela? You look like you have the biggest secret in the world." "I do have a big secret, but it's not my secret anymore." Carmen took a deep breath. "Do you remember how we've always wondered who our guardian angel was? The person who paid for my surgery and saved our family. Of course, you said we'd probably never know who it was. Well, today I found out. And Sophia, you're not going to believe this." Sophia leaned forward, her eyes bright with curiosity. "It was Mr. Elon, our neighbor, the man who helped you take care of the garden while I was sick." Sophia's mouth fell open. She stared at her grandmother for several seconds without speaking. "Mr. Elon," she whispered finally. "The rocket man, he's our guardian angel." "Yes, Mija. He's been helping us all along, and we didn't even know it." Sophia jumped up from the bench, her face a mixture of amazement and joy. "Elon Musk saved your life? Elon Musk helped me water your tomatoes? Elon Musk is our neighbor." Carmen laughed at Sophia's reaction. "Yes to all of that. But why didn't he tell us? Why did he keep it secret?" Carmen thought about Elon's explanation in the conference room. "Because he wanted to help us without making us feel like we owed him anything. He wanted us to keep our dignity and our pride." Sophia began pacing around the garden, her mind processing this incredible information. "So when he was teaching me about the plants, he already knew about Abuela's surgery? And when he asked about my dreams, he was the one who made sure those dreams could still come true." "That's right." Sophia stopped pacing and looked directly at Carmen. "We have to thank him properly, Abuela. We have to show him how much his kindness meant to our family. What did you have in mind?" Sophia's eyes lit up with an idea. "Can we invite him over for dinner? I want to cook for him using vegetables from the garden he helped me save, and I want to show him all my rocket drawings and tell him about everything I've learned." Carmen smiled. "I think that's a wonderful idea. But first, we should tell your parents." When Miguel and Rosa came home from work that evening, Carmen and Sophia were waiting in the living room with barely contained excitement. "You both look like you're about to burst with news," Rosa said, sitting down on the couch. "Mama found out who our guardian angel is," Sophia announced, unable to keep the secret any longer. Miguel and Rosa looked at Carmen expectantly. "It's our neighbor," Carmen said. Elon, Miguel said slowly. "The man who visited us at the hospital? The one who works at SpaceX?" "The very same." Rosa's hand flew to her mouth. He's the one who paid for everything? The surgery, the helicopter, the hotel, all of it, Carmen confirmed. And he's been quietly helping our family in other ways too. Sophia's tutoring program at SpaceX? He made sure I knew about the job opening. Miguel sat back in his chair, looking stunned. I knew there was something special about him when he visited us at the hospital. He asked so many questions about you and our family. He cared about us when he had no reason to, Rosa said, tears forming in her eyes. He saved our family, and we didn't even know it. Sophia bounced on her toes. And now we know, so we can thank him properly. I want to invite him for dinner this weekend. Miguel looked uncertain. Mija, he's a very important person. He probably doesn't have time for dinner with neighbors. Papa, Sophia said seriously, he spent 6 months helping us when he thought we'd never know it was him. I think he cares more about being a good neighbor than being important. Carmen nodded. Sophia's right. Today, when he explained why he helped us, he seemed more interested in our family's happiness than anything else. What did he say? Rosa asked. Carmen repeated Elon's explanation about hearing Sophia cry in the garden and being reminded of his own grandmother. She told them about his belief that the most important work was helping people reach their dreams. He said that helping our family was one of the most meaningful things he had ever done, Carmen finished. Miguel was quiet for a long moment. 6 months ago, I was angry that we couldn't afford to save you, Mama. I felt like I had failed as a son. But this man, who doesn't even know us well, stepped in and gave us hope when we had none. And he did it without taking away our dignity, Rosa added. We never felt like we were taking charity. Everything felt like good fortune or opportunities we had earned. Sophia ran to the phone. Can I call him right now and invite him to dinner? Sophia, wait, Carmen said. Let's think about this. What would be the best way to show our appreciation? Sophia considered this seriously. I want to cook his favorite food, and I want to give him something special from our garden. And I want to show him that his belief in my dreams is working. How will you show him that? Miguel asked. I've been working on a special project, a plan for growing different kinds of vegetables on Mars. I used everything Abuela taught me about plants and everything I learned from books about space. Carmen looked at her granddaughter with pride. That sounds perfect, Mija. The next morning, Sophia marched over to Elon's house and knocked on his front door. She was carrying a small basket of vegetables from Carmen's garden and a carefully folded piece of paper. When Elon opened the door, Sophia beamed at him. Hi, Mr. Elon. I know who you really are now. Elon smiled. I figured your grandmother would tell you. She did. And I have 2 things for you. Sophia held up the basket. These are vegetables from the garden you helped me save. Abuela and I picked the best ones. Thank you, Sophia. That's very thoughtful. And this, Sophia said, unfolding the paper, is my plan for growing food on Mars. I made it to show you that your belief in my dreams is helping me become a better scientist. Elon took the paper and studied it carefully. Sophia had drawn detailed diagrams of greenhouse structures, root systems, and irrigation plants. She had labeled everything with scientific terms and included calculations for soil, water, and growing space. Sophia, this is incredible, Elon said, genuinely impressed. This is college-level thinking about space agriculture. Really? Abuela helps me with the hard parts, but I did all the research myself. The research shows. You've thought about problems that real scientists are working on right now. Sophia bounced with excitement. That's because I'm going to be a real scientist someday. And now I know that you believe in me too, not just Abuela. I absolutely believe in you, Elon said. Your dreams are going to change the world. Mr. Elon, will you come to dinner at our house this weekend? I want to cook for you with vegetables from our garden, and I want to show you all my other space projects. Elon looked at this earnest 8-year-old girl who had unknowingly changed his perspective on what mattered most in life. I would be honored to have dinner with your family, he said. Sophia hugged him tightly. Thank you for saving my Abuela. Thank you for believing in my dreams. Thank you for being the best neighbor ever. As Elon hugged her back, he realized that helping the Velasquez family had taught him something important. Building rockets and planning missions to Mars were amazing achievements. But the most satisfying accomplishments were the ones that helped other people reach for their own stars. Saturday couldn't come fast enough for any of them. For the first time since Carmen's stroke, the whole family would gather around their table with their guardian angel, sharing food grown in the garden he had helped flourish, celebrating dreams that had survived against impossible odds. Sometimes the best adventures happen not in space, but right at home, when kindness brought people together and showed them that they were never alone in reaching for their dreams. 1 year later, Carmen's Seeds of Hope program had grown beyond anything she had imagined. What started as a few children learning in her backyard had become a full community garden behind the Boca Chica Elementary School. 20 families now participated, growing food together while their children learned science, math, and life skills. On this bright Saturday morning in March, exactly 1 year after Carmen's stroke, the community was gathered to celebrate the program's success. Parents worked in the garden beds while children conducted science experiments at outdoor tables. The sound of laughter and learning filled the air. Sophia, now 9 years old and in 4th grade, had become the garden's unofficial space agriculture expert. She led a group of younger children around the experimental section where they were testing which vegetables might grow best on Mars. "See these potatoes?" Sophia explained to 6-year-old Marcus, whose mother had been one of Carmen's first tutoring students. "They grow underground, so they would be protected from space radiation, and they're full of nutrients that astronauts need." "How do you know so much about space food?" Marcus asked, his eyes wide with admiration. "My abuela taught me that plants and space science go together. If humans are going to live on other planets, we need to know how to grow food there." Marcus nodded seriously. "I want to help you grow food on Mars someday." "You can. We need lots of scientists working together to solve big problems." Nearby, Carmen sat at a picnic table with several parents, reviewing the children's progress in both academics and gardening. Her recovery had been so complete that most people forgot she had ever been sick. Her job at SpaceX had expanded to include developing programs for schools across South Texas. "Mrs. Velasquez," said Maria Santos, whose twins had struggled with reading before joining the program. "Isabella is now reading 3 grade levels above her class. She wants to be a botanist when she grows up. And Alex is doing so well in math," added Carlos Martinez. "He says numbers make sense now because you show him how they work in real gardens." Carmen smiled with satisfaction. Children learn best when they can touch, feel, and grow things with their own hands. Science isn't just in books, it's all around us. Rosa appeared with a large tray of fresh salsa made from garden vegetables. "The tomatoes this year are the best we've ever grown," she announced. Miguel, who now worked full-time as a supervisor for SpaceX construction projects, was building new raised garden beds with several other fathers. The program had become a true community effort, with everyone contributing their skills. "Papa," Sophia called to Miguel, "can you help me set up the rocket demonstration for the little kids?" "Of course, Mija." Sophia had prepared a presentation about how plants might travel to space. She had built a model rocket that could carry seeds, demonstrating how future missions might transport plant life to other planets. As she set up her experiment, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the garden. Elon Musk walked over, carrying a small wrapped package and wearing a simple SpaceX t-shirt instead of his usual work clothes. "Mr. Elon," Sophia shouted, running over to greet him. "You came to our celebration." "I wouldn't miss it," Elon said, hugging her. "This program has become something really special." Over the past year, Elon had become a regular part of the Velasquez family's life. He joined them for dinner once a month, helped Sophia with her science projects, and provided quiet support for Carmen's expanding educational programs. But he was careful to maintain his role as simply a good neighbor who cared about the community. "Sophia," Elon said, "I brought you something. It's for your space agriculture research." Sophia unwrapped the package carefully. Inside was a small device that looked like a miniature greenhouse. "It's a prototype growing chamber designed for space missions," Elon explained. "The engineers at SpaceX thought you might like to experiment with it." Sophia's eyes grew huge. "Real space technology? For me to use? Real space technology. You can test different seeds in growing conditions. Your research might actually help us figure out how to grow food on Mars." "You mean my work could help real astronauts?" "Your work is real research, Sophia. Age doesn't matter when you're solving important problems." Carmen walked over to join them, amazed as always by how Elon encouraged Sophia's dreams. "This is incredibly generous," she said. It's an investment in the future, Elon replied. Sophia's generation will be the ones actually living and working in space. We need them to start thinking about these challenges now. The afternoon continued with demonstrations, presentations, and shared meals. Sophia showed the community her latest Mars agriculture plans, which now included detailed drawings of space greenhouses and growing systems. Several other children presented their own science projects. Inspired by Sophia's example, as the sun began to set, painting the sky orange behind the SpaceX rockets in the distance, the community gathered for a special ceremony. Carmen stood before the group with a small tree in her hands. 1 year ago, Carmen began, I was lying in a hospital bed, worried that I might never see this garden again. Today, our little program has grown into something beautiful that brings families together and helps children dream big. She gestured toward a corner of the garden where they had prepared a special planting area. This tree is a Mexican lime tree, grown from seeds that my mother brought from Mexico 50 years ago. I'm planting it today as a symbol of how dreams and kindness can grow into something that benefits many people. Carmen walked to the prepared hole and gently placed the tree in the ground. Sophia helped her add soil and water while the community watched. Every time we see this tree grow, Carmen continued, we'll remember that small acts of kindness can create lasting change. We'll remember that when people help each other, everyone's dreams grow stronger. Sophia stood beside her grandmother and addressed the crowd. This garden started because someone believed in my abuela's dreams and my dreams too. Now all of you are helping each other's children learn and grow. That's how kindness multiplies. She looked toward Elon, who was standing quietly at the back of the group. Thank you for showing us that when you help someone reach for the stars, you don't just change their life, you change everyone around them too. Elon felt that familiar tightness in his chest as he watched Sophia speak with confidence and wisdom beyond her years. This little girl who had once cried over tomato plants was now inspiring an entire community to dream bigger and work together. After the ceremony, as families began cleaning up and preparing to go home, Elon found himself sitting on Carmen's original garden bench with Sophia. Mr. Elon, Sophia said, can I tell you a secret? Of course. I still want to be an astronaut and grow food on Mars. But now I also want to teach other kids about space science, just like Abuela teaches about gardening. That's a wonderful goal. The best astronauts are often the best teachers too. Sophia was quiet for a moment, watching the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. Do you think we'll really make it to Mars in my lifetime? I'm certain of it, Elon said. And I think you'll be part of the team that makes it happen. Really? You think I'm smart enough? Sophia, you're not just smart enough. You're exactly the kind of person we need. Someone who understands that exploring space isn't just about rockets and technology. It's about taking care of each other and making sure everyone has what they need to survive and thrive. Sophia beamed. Abuela says the same thing. She says the best adventures happen when people work together. As Elon looked around the garden filled with thriving plants and happy families, he realized that Carmen was absolutely right. Building rockets and planning missions to Mars were important, but the most meaningful adventures happened right here on Earth, in moments like this. When communities came together and children learned to believe in their ability to change the world, the Seeds of Hope program now had a waiting list of families who wanted to participate. Several schools had contacted Carmen about starting similar programs. The ripple effects of one act of kindness continued to spread, creating opportunities and hope for more and more children. Carmen's teaching position at SpaceX had evolved into a regional program that served dozens of schools. Her methods were being studied by education researchers, and she had been invited to speak at conferences about making science accessible to all children. Miguel's construction business had grown to include sustainable building projects for other communities. Rosa had completed her business courses and was managing the administrative side of the Seeds of Hope program. Most importantly, Sophia was thriving. Her science projects were now being entered in state competitions. She had been accepted into a special summer program for gifted students at the University of Texas. NASA had even sent her a letter praising her Mars agriculture research and encouraging her to continue her studies. But tonight, as the celebration wound down and families gathered their children and leftover food, what mattered most was the simple truth that had brought them all together. When people believe in each other's dreams and work together to nurture them, those dreams have a way of growing beyond anything anyone could have imagined. Elon helped Sophia pack up her rocket demonstration while Carmen and Rosa gathered the gardening tools. Miguel and the other fathers secured the new garden beds they had built that day. Same time next month for our family dinner, Carmen asked Elon as they prepared to part ways. I wouldn't miss it, Elon replied. Sophia promised to show me her latest plans for Mars greenhouses. And I want to hear about the new SpaceX missions, Sophia added. Abuela says that by the time I'm old enough to be an astronaut, you'll have built a whole city on Mars. Maybe you'll help design the gardens for that city. Elon suggested. Sophia's face lit up with the possibility. The Carmen Velasquez Memorial. Gardens on Mars. Carmen laughed. I'm not gone yet, Mija. But I like the idea of having gardens named after teachers and dreamers. As they said their goodbyes and began walking toward their respective homes, Elon reflected on how much his life had changed since that rainy morning when he first heard Sophia crying in the garden. He had learned that the most successful missions weren't always the ones that reached the farthest destinations. Sometimes they were the ones that brought people closer together and helped them discover that they were capable of achieving things they never thought possible. Sophia ran ahead to the house, calling back to her grandmother. Abuela, tomorrow can we start planning next year's garden? I have ideas for 3 new experiments. Carmen waved at Elon one final time before following her granddaughter inside. The adventure continues, she called to him. Elon stood for a moment in his own backyard, looking up at the stars that Sophia and Carmen loved to study together. Somewhere among those distant lights was Mars, waiting for the humans who would someday call it home. And here on Earth, in a small Texas town, a 9-year-old girl was already figuring out how to feed them. The rockets would fly, the missions would launch, and humans would eventually reach Mars. But it would happen because people like Carmen had spent their lives nurturing curiosity and determination in children like Sophia. It would happen because communities had come together to support each other's dreams. Would happen because sometimes the most important discoveries were made not in space, but in gardens where teachers and students worked side by side, planting seeds of knowledge that would grow into the future itself that we'd love to know. Where are you listening from today? Drop a comment and let us know which part of this story touched your heart the most. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that celebrate the power of human kindness. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, stories like Carmen and Sophia's remind us that compassion, education, and believing in each other's potential can create miracles. Help us spread this message of hope and kindness, because you never know who might need to hear that their dreams matter and their community cares. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most important rockets are the ones that lift up the people around you.